Hi, everyone. This is Amy Oplinger Singh. You might know me better from Twitter as at Salesforce Amy. I am a senior client director for a partner here in the US, Rafter One. And I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for many years. If you follow me on Twitter, you know how I love the Salesforce community, my family, Michael Jackson, all kinds of different things, but especially, obviously, the Punjabi culture. Thanks to my husband and everyone that helped me over the years.
Dreamforce speaker, Salesforce MVP alum, we have Amy Oplinger Singh with us today. I am Khyati Mehta, host of this awesome podcast, and we'll hear the stories and insights from the lady herself. There, Abby mentioning about all her achievements. So today, we sit down with her and take away all the tips and tricks on how to excel in the Salesforce ecosystem. So, Emmy, let's start from the beginning. How did you initially start your career?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on here. My story is, I think, an interesting one, but it's not unique. It's one of many in the ecosystem. I was very happy in a sales career. I was married with two young children, and I was working at a company that implemented Salesforce. I got to help with that implementation despite not having any kind of technical knowledge, but I did learn a lot. And that kind of sparked my interest in pursuing this career path.
Mhm.
Luckily for me, I made the decision that I was going to pursue it. And in the area that I live in, there weren't a lot of people available that had Salesforce knowledge or skills. Literally, I quit my job, put my resume online, and was on my very first project within 2 weeks. So it was really kind of a jump with both feet into this career, and here I am. It was a successful decision for me, for sure.
Super glad that you made into Salesforce and in the ecosystem. But yes, as you said that, it was just jump into this ecosystem. So did you ever feel or were unsure about, choosing such a path for yourself?
Oh, 100%. And I kind of have the personality where out of my mouth will come, yes, of course, I can do that. And then in my mind, I think, oh my gosh, what did you just agree to? So that was sort of the whole first year of my career, and really kind of still now. I suffer from it a little bit, where on my first project, I just felt totally inferior. I didn't know that I should be there. I felt very intimidated. I had been in sales for so long, and here I was in a tech career
Mm.
on a platform that I was really kind of learning as I was working. So I was extremely unsure uh, in that, but it forced me to really kind of focus and uh, my whole life was Salesforce, eat, breathe, sleep Salesforce. So it really was a good choice for me because it kept me interested all these years. It was something I was fascinated by and interested to learn. It was something brand new, so it was great.
Yeah, I believe you that Salesforce is very much fascinating with all the new releases coming up every time. So you get to learn many new things. But yes, when you said that you were into sales career and then you jumped into, the tech career in Salesforce.
Hmm.
So whenever a newbie comes in the ecosystem and when they try to match their options that they had earlier to the new career, they would usually go to sales career in the Salesforce as well. So how, this question comes in my mind because I always get stumbled by such questions that, hey, I do have sales, experience with me. Should I go with the Sales Cloud in Salesforce? So what would be your take on such a question?
So, that's a great question. And what I do encourage people to look at as far as their skill set when it comes to Salesforce and deciding to move to this as a career.
Hmm.
Just because you were in sales doesn't mean you need to focus on Sales Cloud. You 100% can, obviously. My
Yeah.
very first project was a training project. So there are a lot of industries and a lot of different verticals that you have skills that will apply for your career in Salesforce. When you decide on a career in Salesforce, there are so many different paths aside from what's put out there, aside from admin, developer, BA, architect, right? The ecosystem is so vast, you can really find a home for what your skills are while working on the platform or being platform adjacent. It really is up to you to kind of think about your skill set, what you want to do, how you want to spend your day. And I can guarantee you there is a job for that where you can utilize those skills in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Right. So, what would be your top three advices for anyone out there who is, still confused on what should they choose when it comes to Salesforce?
Sure. So I think I kind of touched on that just a minute ago, and I do this myself. So the number one piece of advice I have for anyone who's confused is to just take a moment, stop, and visualize how you want to spend your day. I immediately went into consulting in my career. I was never an admin for an organization. So I immediately jumped in and was a Salesforce consultant for the last 6 years. I got a little bored of that, or kind of not bored, but burnt out of that.
Hmm.
And what I had to do for myself was take my own advice. I probably took 3, 4 months to figure out, how do I want to spend my day? How do I want to utilize what I know about Salesforce or what I've learned, what skills I've gained from other positions? How
Hmm.
do I want to use that on a day-to-day basis? And, I would type those terms into LinkedIn and I would come up with job descriptions, things that weren't typical admin, developer, BA job titles. That's how I found customer success. It wasn't even on my radar
Hmm.
to go down this path. So that's my number one advice for anyone who's confused, is to stop and check in with yourself.
Hmm.
Um, Second is, don't be intimidated when you read job descriptions thinking you're not qualified. Go ahead and apply. Let the other person tell you no. Don't make that decision for them. So many people already kind of cut themselves out of good positions because they think they're not qualified when in actuality they are.
Right.
The third piece of advice that I think is crucial for anybody in the ecosystem is talk to someone that's doing it. Uh, you know, there are so many people in the ecosystem. This is what I did when I started. This is what I still do. I reach out to people and say, "Hey, I noticed you're doing this. Can I buy you a cup of coffee and talk to you a little bit about it? What your day looks like and things of that nature." Um, have that kind of friendship, mentorship, network that you can rely on and go to when you have this confusion, so that they can kind of maybe point something out that you hadn't thought of, lead you down a path that you hadn't considered. Just be open to those different perspectives.
Excellent advices there, Amy. I'm sure, people are there taking notes of those. And when you say about the wonderful ecosystem that we have, you should definitely go out and talk to someone when you're confused. It's going to help a lot.
Yes.
And when we talk about ecosystem, I know everyone knows that you're close to the community that we have. So, what does a community or our community means to you?
What does community mean to me? The Salesforce community is a very vibrant, very helpful, very supportive community. Prior to going down this career path, it was just work for me. There wasn't a vibrant community built around what I do for a living. And the fact that if I get stuck on something at work, I have a whole network of people that I can say, "Hey, I'm trying to get and they will literally stop and help me do my job." You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's very vibrant, very helpful, very supportive. The Salesforce community, and I'm
Very
happy to be part of it.
very true. And you get to meet such amazing people as well and
Yeah.
talk to them whenever you want to.
Hmm.
So, talking about community, you have also been a speaker at Dreamforce. Would you like to, share your experience with us? And
Sure. Yeah, it was wonderful. I've spoken at Dreamforce a couple of times. The first time was very, very nerve wracking, but you know, it was awesome. But it was kind of like I have to go back and listen to the recording because I feel like I blacked out when I was on stage because I was so nervous. But
yeah.
um, speaking at the community events kind of built up to Dreamforce. Midwest Dreamin' was really the first time I had ever spoken at an event, and that really was the beginning of the session that I give still to this day on imposter syndrome. Was really the most um, kind of gratifying experience that I've had speaking. So was happy to share that at Dreamforce a couple of times and at several regional conferences, and even in India.
Oh, yes, I'm coming to that. How was your India travel? I know you have traveled a lot, and
Uh-huh.
how much did you love it?
Well, I think anyone who's ever met me knows how much I loved it. It was amazing. It was, you had to understand I'm from a very small town.
Hmm.
Um, I am from a very non-diverse area. And in my whole life, I never thought that I would, let alone, travel to maybe Canada, let alone India or Singapore or China or Japan, just because I chose to work in a certain ecosystem. But it has happened. India to me is obviously very special. That first trip that I had in 2017 to be a part of India Dreamin' was still in my mind the most magical adventure that I've lived in my life. So it introduced me to so many great people. It introduced me to the culture of the area that I was in. The hospitality is really unmatched from anything I've experienced in the world. So I was able to go back again in 2018.
Hmm.
Um, and then, the pandemic happened. So we unfortunately have not been back since then, but I can't wait to go back and travel even more. I've never been to southern India, so that was in my plans for 2019, but that didn't happen. So that's on my roadmap for the next few years to try to make it into southern India as well.
So I have got it covered. We have been trimming next year as
Yes.
well. So I can't wait to meet you, and I'm sure
Yes.
Indian Trailblazers can't wait to meet you again.
Yes. It'll be my pleasure.
And we can plan for a southern trip as well.
Yes.
Okay, so we also know that you have been into women in tech topics, and you have, had your focus on those topic when you were in your India travel, and you also had sessions running down on different regional areas.
Mhm.
So, what do you think, or how much has it, advanced or changed in the past 5 years?
I think that it's changed a lot and for the better. I think the culture overall has changed. I told you before, I'm from a very small area, and hearing the stories of the struggles at the beginning when I started talking to different women um, from the women in tech groups around India, and the heartbreak that they
Mhm.
felt that maybe their new husband didn't want them to work, so they were upset because they got a great deal of satisfaction out of their Salesforce career and education. So they were now, having problems with that. Something that I don't face here, something that the American women
Mm-hmm.
don't have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't hear those stories so much. It was heartbreaking for a couple of years, but I really feel like there's been a great shift. I don't know if it's all over India, but for the for the most part, the women that I know are thriving in
Right.
their careers. It's much more accepted and open for the women to be active. Families are supporting it, which is very important. And the women there are really empowering themselves, which is fantastic.
Yes, I agree to it. It has been a lot of change in India, and as you said, most part of it has women growing and thriving in their careers. And now, there's a culture that can be said as that men or families or people surrounding the women have them as allies, and which is what we even believed in with trimming. We wanted to have women and our allies together so that women can grow and thrive for the better.
Yes.
So apart from this, we all know that you have received the title of Salesforce MVP as well. So how was your experience then?
So I think anybody that goes into the ecosystem starts off with that
Mhm.
kind of goal, like, oh, I want to be an MVP, without really, knowing what that means. I didn't really know what that means, what that meant at the time. And then it happened for me, and I quickly found out what it meant. So it was interesting. It was a very interesting time for me, and it was fun to meet all the people. It was fun to have access and get the perks within Salesforce. And
Mhm.
by the end of 2019, I was just a little bit burned out by it, and so I respectfully asked to be not to be considered for renewal, and they were fine with that. So it was a great memory that I have, and I appreciated the honorary title. But I would really encourage people to not focus so much on that.
Right,
It's the number one question I get asked when people message me, "How do I do this? Tell me what to do." And
right,
my answer's the same. There's no path. Do what you like to do, and make yourself happy. If you want to be involved locally in your community and not make a big splash about it, that's great. That doesn't mean you're not an MVP. You are. You're
right.
giving back to the community. Just because you don't have an honorary title doesn't stop you from really giving back and really helping others around you. There's lots of people that don't have any idea what MVP means. If you go to apply for a job, it probably doesn't mean too much to a company.
Mm-hmm.
It means a lot in the Salesforce community for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't want people to get focused on that. I know it's very competitive, and I want, if anyone takes anything away from me, is that you can have a fantastic career and you can make absolutely an impact, whether you are or whether you're not designated with any honorary title, whether it be a golden hoodie, MVP, whatever. you
Right.
know just make yourself happy and do what you like to do in the community.
Right. This is so true. Title or not, I believe it. Title or not, you should give back to the community. You should help others, and you should make yourself happy so that you can do those things better.
Yes, 100%.
Right. So now that you don't have the title, of course, it does not make any change to your life.
Nope.
But just a question, does it make any change to what you do in the community or outside the community?
Nope, I still lead. I lead my local Women in Tech chapter.
Mm-hmm.
We're celebrating, next year will be our 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have people that I mentor.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really change anything. It didn't change anything for me when I got it, other than, oh my God, I'm one of them. You know what I mean? You get that.
Yeah, I
I'm
I
one of
know.
the 200 in the world. So, but then nothing else changes. So it
Right.
was, I was still doing Amy. I was still doing what Amy always did. So
Mhm.
that hasn't changed. I am 100% myself. And whether or not there's a metric behind what I do
Hmm.
doesn't stop me.
Yeah.
So,
That is what our listeners should listen, that title or not, you can do what you want to do and make a change, make an impact in
yep.
probably someone else's life. And that is why we have the amazing community that we have. So why don't you just do what you want to do rather than running after a title?
And it's more authentic, right?
Yeah.
Because, I've known people that probably try to fake it. Then it becomes very obvious very soon that they're only doing things because they think this is what will get them that title.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it doesn't happen. It's obvious. So,
Right.
check in with yourself. That's really my overall theme. Check in with you.
Mm-hmm.
You run your career. Your journey is different from anyone else's,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the power to really uh, embolden yourself to have the best career.
Right. Even faking it won't basically lead yourself to a better career
No.
or probably grow yourself within. It will just probably demean you or will not help you in any aspects, I feel. Making
Yeah.
yourself happier by doing the things you do. I run a local community. I'm very happy meeting with everyone once a month. I
Yes.
have probably done wind trimming. I'm very proud and happy of myself that I could pull up such an event with someone else. Or probably, get
Yes.
500 trailblazers under one roof. So that's an achievement for me. And I'm very happy.
It's a huge achievement. It's a huge achievement, and that's the whole thing. You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
You're happy with what you did. You know what you've done.
exactly.
Guess what? Other people are going to have an opinion on that. And you know what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as you're happy. When I was going to India, I had some kickback about, oh, why is she always traveling over there and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Well, this is what makes me happy. You don't have to do it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
why do you care what I'm doing?
yeah,
Yeah. So
I
just check
agree.
in with yourself and make sure that you're doing what you want to do with your time.
Right. Even my mother says the same, that you should be happy and you should be doing things that even make others happy. A smile,
Mom knows best.
putting a smile on someone's face would lead you a better life. That is what she always says.
Hanji, Mama G, yes.
So that's our show. Before we go, last question to you, Amy. Describe Salesforce community in one word.
Vibrant.
Again, thanks to Emmy for the great tips and information. I thank you all for listening. See you all at the next podcast.